Hi guys, I'm a Forester here. After reviewing several knives this year, like the Benchmade Crooked River, that's a beautiful knife. It's a great addition to my collection. This one I bought later in the spring of 2017. This is the Real Steel Thor. I bought this one in honor of my grandson, whose name is Thor, and I'll probably give this knife to him on his 18th birthday. And then also, even though it's smaller, this Southern Grind Spider Monkey. After reviewing knives like those this year, I feel a little bit funny bringing on a knife that I'm so excited about having and reviewing for you. This is the Victorinox Recruit. And I'm going to have to zoom in just so you can even see it. It's so small compared to those other knives. But there it is. I do have a couple of other Victorinox in my collection. I've got the floral knife, which I use as a grafting knife, and I've also got the Cadet that I've had in my collection a long time and probably my most carried knife. But why am I so excited about having the Recruit? Well, because of these two tools right here on the end of the knife, the tweezers and the toothpick. Neither of these other two Victorinoxes that I own have those, and so now I have them and I'm excited about it. Let me set that one aside and do a quick comparison of just these two knives right here, the Cadet and the Recruit. The Recruit came to me as a gift, and I don't know where it was purchased, so the most obvious thing right off that you might notice, I hope it shows up as dark green and not black, but are these forest green scales. I haven't found this option on Victorinox's website or any online knife store that I've checked out. But I will put a link to the red version of the Recruit in the description below. Now the Recruit is very similar to the Cadet with just a few exceptions. And of course the Cadet has these Alox handle scales. One problem you might notice is that they do scratch up, and because I have carried that so much, mine show a little bit of wear. The Recruit has plastic scales, and there are some advantages to that. They add a little bit of width. And let me compare the backspace, the width. Both of them have double backspacers because they have very similar tools, but the width of the scales make the Recruit much wider than the Cadet. And of course that allows for the toothpick and tweezers, and I think that's a nice trade-off. Now there's a very slight difference in weight between these two knives, but you'd never notice it in pocket, so I'm not going to make a big deal over it here in the video. The fit and finish of the Recruit is typical Victorinox. Everything is smooth and fairly flush. You know, Victorinox makes very consistent knives, and if you own any Victorinox, you know what I'm talking about. Now the tools are exactly the same with one exception, and that's the substitution of this nail file for this, the substitution of this small pen blade for this nail file right here on the Cadet. Now personally, I consider this a small pen blade, so I would much rather have the nail file on the Recruit than this even smaller pen blade. The nail file is one of my most used tools on the Cadet. And speaking of most used tools, now I typically use the pen blade, I use the cap lifter, and I use the nail file on the Cadet. The can opener right here is nice to have in a pinch, but to be honest, I haven't used it. But now here on the Recruit, I have two additional tools, the toothpick and the tweezers. Whether I use those or not a lot, we'll just have to wait and see, but it is nice to have them in a pinch. Let me set this aside and let's do a paper cutting test. And we'll just do it with the main blade. Both of them are about the same sharpness. This is straight out of box. I haven't done anything with it. Caught a little bit there, and I actually cut myself with it, so that's what I get for doing a paper cutting test on the video. But I do love this knife, the Recruit. Even though it cut me, I'm going to have to go do something about that. I love the forest green scales instead of the typical red Victorinox scales. So check it out. I'll put a link to the Recruit in the description below, and y'all take care.